One day, while staring blankly at your perfectly adequate non-French life, the truth arrived. It wasn't delivered by an angel or a singing shrub. It was just a nagging thought, probably during the consumption of a subpar cheddar. Everything here is fine, but frankly, if this tedious existence must continue, it should be at least be accompanied by a superior cheese and conducted entirely in France. You are no tourist. A tourist seeks enlightenment with a fanny pack. You, however, are planning a full-scale international migration. The glorious socialized healthcare, the pensions, a lovely stone domicile, and possibly the acquisition of a philosophical goat named Christine. Oh, and the inevitable household appliances that will judge your cooking skills, in French, naturally. You have chosen your region. Your bonjour now sounds almost believable rather than like a panicked pigeon. Your digital life is a meticulously balanced 80% instructional videos on life in rural France, how not to offend the baker, and 20% diagnosing a debilitating joint ailment. Then the horror descends, a truth more chilling than a Parisian waiter's glare. You are shackled to a dog whose understanding of human canine law is that the sofa is sovereign territory and you are merely the highly trained mobile feeding unit. There's also a cat, the ultimate feline landlord, who has never paid a single rent but owns the entire property through the sheer, unblinking power of a stare. And perhaps an assortment of smaller, high-maintenance creatures who observed your Google search for houses in Dordogne and concluded this better include premium protein, human. And this brings us to the soul-crushing inquiry. Upon relocation to France, do they, the small, furry, demanding tyrants, come too? Or do you become the sad, lonely expat whose primary social engagement is a weekly, tearful Zoom call with a German Shepherd? The good news, they can absolutely come with you. The not so good news, the paperwork required will likely necessitate the creation of a small, bespoke filing cabinet dedicated entirely to pet migration documents. And so, today I will answer the burning question how to bring your pets to France without losing them or your sanity. In this video, we shall attempt to navigate this administrative gauntlet. The big two, cats and dogs, the equestrian liability, because why not? The minuscule overlords, birds, reptiles, rodents, and ferrets, the so-called forbidden fruit, the exotic menagerie France has sensibly banned, the paper chase, vets, pet passports and insurance, homestead law, or the goat question. This is the story of how an innocent dream of French living becomes a logistical crusade involving 5 separate species. First, the good news. France welcomes your pets. This way, you don't have to arrive alone and emotionally decluttered like some sort of sad, enlightened monk. We are quite keen on canine and feline companions, provided they are not some sort of venomous, protected species requiring a UNESCO heritage plaque and an escort of Swiss guards. If you are traveling from a listed country such as the US, UK, Canada, Australia or New Zealand, the usual suspects, the rules are strict. For dogs and cats, the entire operation hinges on a trinity of bureaucratic excellence. Your pet requires an ISO-compliant microchip that is readable by the European scanners. Merely knowing your pet's name, yes, I know him, his name is Dave, he eats socks. doesn't count. The rabies shot is critical. It must satisfy two profoundly sensible requirements. It must be administered after the microchip is implanted. Why? Because the chip is the pet's official ID badge. Giving them the shot before the ID is like sending a postcard before you know the address. Utterly pointless. It must be at least 21 days old on the date you enter the EU. That's 21 actual, measurable days, not 3 weeks in dog years, or it felt like ages while I waited. You cannot rush bureaucracy, even if it's for a very good boy. You will also need an EU Animal Health Certificate, which must be issued by an official government vet, not your neighbor's nephew who took a correspondence course. It must be issued within 10 days of your entry into the EU. This certificate has the shelf life of a very ripe brie. This document is essentially several pages of solemn assurance that we have examined this animal and, to the best of our knowledge, it is not the opening scene of a low-budget zombie film about an infected chihuahua. For entry into France, dogs do not need tapeworm treatment. Magnifique! However, it is required if you plan to travel onward to the UK, Ireland, Malta, Finland or Norway. These countries, apparently, have a higher standard of intestinal hygiene. Therefore, if you are traveling from the UK to France, the tapeworm saga is a cliffhanger reserved for the return trip. If you are coming from a listed country, US, UK, etc., a rabies titer test is generally not required. However, it is required if you are coming from an unlisted country. In this case, you must have your pet provide a blood sample, send the sample to an approved EU lab to check antibody levels. You must then wait out the required period before travel. It's your pet showing up at the border saying, "Look, I brought my own scientific evidence, Your Excellency. Now, may I please be permitted entry to roll in the mud?" If your life goals involve a picturesque French farmhouse, a respectable glass of red wine, and your horse, then good news, France is entirely prepared to process the necessary paperwork. For horses already miling about within the EU, the process is delightfully simple, provided you enjoy a light sprinkling of compliance. You will require a valid equine passport. Without it, how will the border guards know if Philippe is a genuine purebred or just a rogue pony with ambition? Registration in an official stud book or a registry? Compliance with all intra-EU animal health regulations. All animal movements are logged in Traces NT, Trade Control and Export System, new technology. On the French side, the local DDPP, Direction départementale de la protection des populations, will oversee proceedings, ensuring that you follow procedures so pedantic they could bring a tear to a mime's eye. For those horses arriving from non-EU territories, for example the US or anywhere else that hasn't fully embraced the EU's love of forms, the list of requirements suggests we are trying to protect France from an equestrian-born jazz plague. So here is the absolutely essential checklist, or "Why is my life like this?" list. This includes an official import permit, which is a necessary legal authorization, a negative Coggins test required for the delightfully named equine infectious anemia, taken between 30 and 90 days before travel. Also a vet certificate. It must be issued no more than 48 hours before shipment. Also approved transport. The movement must be handled by an authorized operator using a vehicle that has been registered and disinfected to a standard that could pass a surgical inspection. Quarantine, potential mandatory, depending on whether your country of origin has a health profile that suggests they might harbor animals with a penchant for anarchy. Your horse must enter France via a border control post, BCP, that is explicitly authorized for live animals. Indeed, some ports are equipped for livestock, others are only for bananas. Advance notification to the BCP is mandatory, arriving without prior arrangement, saying, "Surprise, this is Philippe, and he's famished," at a port like Calais is not considered a sound logistical strategy. Now let's talk about birds, reptiles, ferrets, and rodents. France allows pet birds, but only if they promise, cross their hearts, and hope to die elsewhere, that they are not carrying a bouquet of contagious diseases. The origin? Well, they must hail from a country that hasn't been blacklisted for suspicious poultry behavior. There is a health protocol, 30-day pre-travel quarantine in an approved facility. Think of it as a low-budget, government-sanctioned resort stay, sans piña coladas, or 10-day supervised isolation upon arrival. A brief stint in French detention, including the exciting requirement of having a qualified professional poke and prod them for avian influenza and Newcastle disease. Parlez-vous swab, mon ami? If your bird is an endangered species, for example an African grey, a CITES permit is mandatory. This proves your bird is not, in fact, smuggled contraband stuffed into a sock. The rules for reptiles are surprisingly straightforward, though documentation is so key that the reptile itself should probably be carrying a small briefcase. If they are non-venomous, generally allowed. Venomous? Essentially banned. If you turn up with a cobra, we are assuming you are either a licensed villain or desperately misunderstood. Either way, no. Many species, including tortoises, pythons, and iguanas, require CITES documentation, particularly if they appear on Appendix 1 or 2. Entry requirements: all reptiles must be declared upon entry. Don't try to sneak a large lizard past a highly observant customs officer. They have seen things. Enter via an appropriate border control post, BCP. This is not a casual entry point. This is where the paperwork gets judged. Travel with a species-specific health certificate, because a general certificate just won't do for a lizard. For normal, non-suspicious numbers of pet rodents, the process is alarmingly simple. Allowed? Yes, they are permitted. The French authorities have accepted that the tiny, whisked menace is a force they cannot fully contain. Vaccination? They do not require a rabies vaccination. This is largely because no one has ever been seriously threatened by a rabid hamster. Declaration: they must be declared at customs and declared fit to travel. Vet certificate: if there are fewer than 5, as personal pets for example, a formal vet certificate is usually not required. But 5 or more, or if the situation appears commercial, a certificate may be requested. As for ferrets, due to their classification as potential rabies vectors, they are treated with the same seriousness afforded to dogs and cats. They must be microchipped. They must have a valid rabies vaccination. If they are from outside the EU, they require an animal health certificate. France maintains a firm, immovable line against certain animals. So let's talk about banned and highly restricted ones. Venomous species, primates, Unless you are a licensed zoo or researcher, any CITES Appendix 1 species without valid permits. Anything that prompts a call for supervision or potentially a priest. This includes, but is not limited to, things that hiss, slither, or are actively attempting to eat the customs officer. Okay, now that the bureaucratic nightmare is sorted, we arrive at the main event. The vexing existential question of how one transports a small, potentially disgruntled menagerie across borders without incurring the wrath of both customs officials and the universe itself. Well, you can use the major flying contraptions, Air France, KLM, Lufthansa, British Airways, etc. They will indeed consent to carry your non-human companions, provided you adhere to their specific regulations and pay the requisite tribute. For tiny creatures, those under the arbitrary limit of 8 kilos, they may travel with you. Be warned, they will judge your choice of in-flight entertainment. Larger specimens are relegated to a dedicated, pressurized and temperature-controlled sanctuary, not the general baggage hellscape where your socks have gone missing since 1998. Here are some mandatory requirements, because why not? Procure an IATA-approved carrier. It must be of the correct, unyielding size. Book early. They enforce strict, mysterious quotas on the number of non-humans permitted per flight. Observe the tyranny of temperature and breed restrictions. This is vital for the perpetually congested-looking, flat-faced breeds, the pugs, the bulldogs, etc., who possess a fatal sensitivity to heat. Prepare for a financial hemorrhage of approximately 75 euros to 400 euros per animal. You may find your cat has attained a higher per kilo freight rate than you, the taxpayer. Your cat naturally considers this arrangement to be the very definition of normal. For many dogs and cats, the following alternatives are often less likely to result in a mid-air panic attack. Eurotunnel is a surprisingly civilized, yet slightly dull transit method. You and your beasts remain together in the comforting confines of your car for the entire slightly damp journey. Your pets will be subjected to a scan and a check at the border. Now let's talk ferries, Brittany ferries, DFDS, and so on. Your pet will likely either remain inside your vehicle or be sequestered in an onboard kennel, depending on the whims of the vessel and the route. You must present the proof of rabies vaccination. This is non-negotiable. Canines must be secured on a lead in all designated areas. Parrots are to remain inside their cages at all times and are expressly forbidden from attempting to interview the ship's captain via the public address system. Upon reaching the borders of La République, the French authorities may demand the following: the sacred EU Animal Health Certificate or the much coveted EU Pet Passport, irrefutable evidence of the microchip, proof of a valid rabies vaccination.
We'll return after these messages.
For any buyers out there looking to make the move to France, there is an amazing show called the French Property Show, which is held twice a year in Cheltenham, England, at the racecourse. Unlike other shows, which may rely on glitzy celebrities, this one is focused on offering an amazing event for serious buyers. The exhibitors over there are not interested in getting thousands of people through the door, as it is a smaller and more intimate venue for people with everything from visa specialists, estate agents covering the more popular regions of France, and even a French notaire on hand to answer any questions you may have about the buying process. As it is such a bespoke show, you have time for questions and answers during the free seminars. The exhibition spaces are all open plan, so you're not squeezed into small spaces. There is plenty of free parking at the event and no ultra-low emission zone or congestion charges. It is all on one level, so no access issues for visitors and an amazing venue to visit. As well as the properties, there's even the opportunity to speak with a financial advisor, mortgage consultant, architect, currency exchange specialists, removal company, mobile homes, and even the team from the old school who can guide you on education for your children here in France. There is some great goodie bags on offer for visitors, with a cotton tote bag for all your brochures that you collect on the day, and even a notebook and pen so you can take down any information from the seminars and so on. To find out more, just simply go to thefrenchpropertyshow.com for further information, and the link is in the description below and in the pinned comment.
We now join our regularly scheduled programming already in progress.
Now, let's tackle French vets, pet passports, and dog rules. Your inaugural administrative quest, right after locating the ritualistic French coffee and compelling the Wi-Fi to cooperate, is to bestow upon your pets a proper, formal French administrative identity. In a nation where even the air has a bureaucratic procedure, your four-legged companion is about to receive its very own file number. Do try to contain your excitement. Locate a local vet immediately. They are the high priests of French pet compliance and hold the sacred power to issue an EU pet passport. This glorious booklet is proof your animal is a sophisticated European traveler and not just a rogue organism. They will register your pet in ECAD, the National Identification Database. This is where your pet's soul is finally catalogued for the state. They will also update all necessary vaccinations and meticulously record any pre-existing health complaints, like that time the cat tried to fight a sofa and lost. Your animal officially achieves the status of a French resident pet the moment it is microchipped, registered in ECAD, the official database of existence, and linked to your current French address. While they will mercifully not be required to vote, they do now legally exist within the system, which in France is perhaps the most profound form of existence possible. Now, let's take a look at the rules governing dogs in public. France genuinely adores dogs. However, France adores order more. The following public rules are a deeply French, slightly passive-aggressive compromise. Leash requirement. Dogs must be attached to a lead in all public spaces. This is less about safety and more about confirming that someone is clearly in charge. Certain breeds, the ones that look like they have been spending time in a gym, classified as Category 2, must be securely muzzled on all public transport and at any public gathering. Owners of these aforementioned Category 2 dogs must attend a required training course. Upon successful completion, they receive a certificate confirming that both the dog and the human have, in fact, grasped the fundamental concept of responsibility and are therefore deemed socially safe. What about pet care costs? For those of you who travel with a fully functional spreadsheet, prepare yourself for what can only be described as surprisingly good news. Vet care in France is remarkably high quality, and when compared to the astonishing bills of certain other countries, it is surprisingly reasonable. A standard vet consultation is about 45 to 60 euros. Neutering a cat, roughly between 120 to 180 euros. Emergency surgery, often under 800 euros. Pet insurance is readily available. Policies generally start at 10 to 40 euros per month, depending on the animal's species, age, and the level of financial commitment you are willing to make. Also, most policies operate on a reimbursement basis, meaning you pay the vet first and the insurer pays you back a percentage of the trauma later. And finally, let's talk about having your animals on your French property. You have acquired a piece of France. The next logical step, naturally, is to populate it with creatures. The French legal system, a monument to common sense and baffling specificity, has some thoughts on this. The law demands that you provide your fluffy, scaly, or feathered residents with food and water, preferably where they can reach it. A structure that vaguely resembles shelter, the occasional visit from someone in a white coat with a needle, a general absence of unnecessary suffering. Failure to comply is not met with a polite suggestion, it is met with fines and the distinct possibility of becoming a cautionary tale in a local newspaper. There is also the neighbor nuisance rule. In French legal parlance, this is the troubles anormaux de voisinage, which translates roughly to that bloody racket next door. You must ensure your menagerie does not inflict the following: noise that suggests a tiny private war is being fought constantly, smells that make your neighbor question all of life's choices. A single rooster is considered the charming backdrop of rural life, like a very irritating clock. A dozen roosters paired with a poorly maintained pig pen placed directly beneath Monsieur Dubois' window is officially deemed abnormal, and frankly, who are you even? In other words, you are entitled to the joys of the countryside, but subjecting the next property to a 3 a.m. soundtrack composed entirely of farmyard angst is an ancient tradition best left to the history books. How many dogs are acceptable before becoming a statistic? I see you pondering. Here, the law suddenly gets very specific because apparently dogs are the metric of eccentricity. Up to 9 dogs over the age of 4 months, you are a dog lover. No forms, no fuss. 10 or more dogs, you are a professional dog enthusiast, and you must obtain a special paper from the préfecture confirming your ability to manage your canine legion without descending into chaos. This also requires complying with hygiene, safety, and zoning regulations that only a committee could love. This limit is exclusive to dogs. Cats, rabbits, and parrots can be accumulated in vast, silent quantities. What about chickens and goats and, your personal agrarian dream? You want a tiny, self-sufficient farm? That's good, but first, you must consult the local feudal authority. Before you even think about buying a nail for the shed, you must have a quiet word with your local mairie, which is the city hall or the town hall. This is where local power resides, often in the form of a woman named Claudette who knows everything. You must also scrutinize the Plan Local d'Urbanisme. This is the local Bible of what you can and cannot do. It often details the maximum number of animals your land can reasonably sustain. If your plans involve animals that are not commonly found trying to trip you in the kitchen, be it exotic reptiles, unusual birds, or perhaps a small, slightly unhappy jaguar, the legal system shifts into high security mode. This is where you encounter the trifecta of forms, a certificat de capacité, proof you haven't just decided this on a whim and know which end of a snake is the dangerous one, an autorisation de détention, permission to actually possess the thing, and approval from the famous DDPP. And in France, you are the legal consequence sponge for your animal's actions. If your dog takes a chunk out of the postman, or if your cat, showing a complete disregard for physics, causes a 5-car pileup on the main road, the bill is yours. This applies even if the incident began innocently on your own property. Most French home insurance policies include responsabilité civile, civil liability for standard domestic pets. It is, however, highly recommended to confirm that your particular possibly unusual collection of creatures is covered, lest you find yourself selling the goat shed to pay for a new bumper. In a nutshell, France grants you the immense, terrifying freedom to acquire animals, provided you adhere to the 3 sacred pillars of cohabitation. Be nice to the animals, be nicer to the neighbors, and obey Claudette at the mairie. In conclusion, can one drag their beloved yet fundamentally non-contributory household fauna to France? Yes. And should one, assuming the finances haven't entirely evaporated and the pet hasn't yet grasped the existential dread of being locked in a cargo hold, it would be a scandalously self-centered betrayal if you did not. It is a truth universally acknowledged that your pets are a magnificent and utterly undeserving tax on your emotional and financial stability. They are the silent, furry rulers of your living space. They pay no rent, yet demand the sleeping arrangements of minor European royalty. They must, therefore, be relocated to France, if only to justify their unbearable privilege. They require philosophically taxing naps in fields of lavender, naps that are not about rest, but about a deep, confusing inquiry into the very nature of unconsciousness and whether it is, in fact, a conspiracy orchestrated by the French Postal Service. And, of course, the occasional surgical pilfering of a rogue croissant crumb executed with the precision of a heavily subsidized but deeply disillusioned assassin badger. Thank you indeed for watching. I love you all. Hey Chatin, are you hiding? Are you hiding? Yes? You hiding? Bonjour. Bonjour. Non, pas la caméra. Quick, quick, quick. Quick, quick, quick. Châtaigne. Oh, you're tired. You're tired sleeping all day. Yes? Et ici, il y a Nala. 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 Bonjour. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? You look surprised. Bonjour. Bonjour. Et là, il y a Jessie. Jessie. Jessie.